All right, buckle up, because we're diving headfirst into the world of Gen Z. You know those research papers you sent over, the ones about Gen Z, marketing, their online habits? Yeah, we're unpacking all of that today.
Hmm.
And let me tell you, some of this stuff was like, whoa, hold on, did not see that coming.
It's so easy to just slap a label on an entire generation, right? Like they're all the same.
Right.
But this research basically throws that whole one-size-fits-all thing right out the window.
Totally. It's like saying all Gen Z is glued to TikTok, which is like, I don't know, saying everyone my age is still obsessed with disco.
So, yeah, no more generational stereotypes.
Exactly.
We're going deep, getting into the nitty-gritty, and we're doing that because, honestly, the stuff matters.
It really does.
Whether you're building a brand, leading a team, or just want to understand what makes the younger crowd tick, this is important stuff. It is, and the research we're diving into today comes from Vandenberg, DePelsmacher, and Worsley. They surveyed thousands, and I mean thousands, of Gen Z individuals, and not just in one place. We're talking Europe, the US, Australia. And get this, they didn't just look at Gen Z as this one big blob. They actually identified distinct groups within Gen Z.
Okay, so spill it.
Yeah.
Who are these Gen Z subgroups? What makes them unique? What makes them tick?
All right, so let's start with the well-off show-offs.
Okay.
This group is all about sustainable brands, high-quality stuff, but, and there's always a but, with a definite air of exclusivity. Think, like, ethical, but make it chic.
I like it.
And here's something interesting. This group, it's way bigger in the US and Australia than it is in Europe.
That's interesting. So it's not just about age then, right? It's about values that are probably driven by their environment, how they were raised, maybe even economics. It makes you wonder if the well-off show-offs are more common in places where those values are, more attainable.
That's a really good point. I mean, the researchers didn't specifically connect those dots, but it makes you think, doesn't it? And it has some interesting implications if you're marketing to this segment. Like, you might need to rethink your pricing strategy. These Gen Zers, they're willing to spend, but you've got to justify those higher price tags. Maybe it's through ethical sourcing or those limited edition collaborations.
Makes sense. Give them that I'm part of something exclusive feeling, but back it up with real action. Okay, so that's the well-off show-offs. Who's next in our Gen Z lineup?
Okay, get ready for this. We've got the happy hipsters.
Happy hipsters, all right.
They actually overlap a bit with the well-off show-offs.
Okay.
Like, they also love exclusive, sustainable brands.
Uh-huh.
But they take it a step further by adding this huge emphasis on inclusivity. They want brands that really reflect their values, and we're talking everything from the environment to social justice issues.
So it's not just about a cool product anymore. It's about the company's overall ethos, their impact on the world.
Exactly. And a great example of a brand that's nailing this is Liquid Death.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Their branding might seem a little out there at first glance.
It is, yeah.
But they're really ticking a lot of boxes for this segment. Edgy, sustainable packaging, they do charitable tie-ins, even celebrity endorsements.
Right, which totally makes sense. It's like they're saying, hey, we can be edgy and still care about the world. Okay, that's two down. Who else have we got?
All right, now for something completely different, let's talk about the unwoke geeks.
Unwoke geeks, okay.
This group, they're less concerned with, like, sustainability or inclusivity. They're more focused on those more traditional markers of success, money, status, that kind of thing. But here's the kicker. They often struggle financially. There's a real sense of nostalgia there, this yearning for stability, and definitely some uncertainty about the future.
Wow, so they're kind of caught between this aspiration for what they've been told equals success, but they're facing a reality that makes it feel out of reach.
Yeah.
It kind of creates some interesting tension. What kind of brands are connecting with them?
Brands that can tap into that aspiration for status, but in a way that acknowledges their financial concerns. Like, think Black Steel Bourbon.
Okay.
It's a new whiskey, but their whole marketing strategy emphasizes this traditional, almost old-school, crafted feel. Plus, they partnered with Dr. Disrespect, who's a huge gaming influencer, to really reach directly into that unwoke geek world.
Smart move. Leverage a figure they already trust, speak
Yeah.
their language. And that whole influencer piece, that feels huge for Gen Z across the board, but we'll definitely unpack that more a bit later. Let's keep going with these segments. Who's next on the list?
Okay, let's dive into a segment that seems to have a lot on their shoulders, the eco-warriors.
Eco-warriors, all right.
And they really do live up to their name. They're deeply concerned about the environment, super committed to sustainable choices, But this awareness, it comes with a real sense of responsibility. They can be wary of those big corporations, often preferring smaller brands that are more transparent.
So they're all about eco-conscious, ethical consumption.
Hmm.
But I'm guessing they also have a healthy dose of skepticism towards those brands that feel like they're jumping on the sustainability bandwagon just because it's trendy.
Oh, absolutely. This group, they see right through greenwashing. A brand that really resonates with them, though, is Patagonia.
Oh, yeah, Patagonia makes sense.
They've always had that strong ethical stance, and for the eco-warriors, buying from Patagonia, it's not just about buying a jacket. It's about supporting a mission.
It's about putting your money where your mouth is. Authenticity over everything. They want to support brands that genuinely align with their values, not just their fashion sense. Okay, that's 4 segments down. Is there like a secret Gen Z society we haven't uncovered yet?
There's actually one more, but they're unique to Europe. Meet the eco-fatalists.
Eco-fatalists. Okay, so how are they different from the eco-warriors?
Like the eco-warriors, they care deeply about inclusivity in the environment, but they've got this feeling that it's almost too late to turn things around.
Oh,
And that sense of, well, fatalism, it really influences their behavior. They're very frugal, often driven by financial worries, and this feeling that material possessions just don't matter as much anymore.
that's heavy. It's like they're carrying the weight of the world's problems on their shoulders. It makes you wonder how you even begin to market to a segment that feels like the game is already over.
It is tricky, but one brand that seems to be nailing it, and this might surprise you, is Aldi.
Aldi. Wait, the discount supermarket chain.
Yep, that Aldi.
Okay.
And here's why it works. They offer good quality at really affordable prices, which appeals to that sense of frugality. They also subtly incorporate inclusivity, like they cater to all kinds of different dietary needs without making a big marketing splash about it.
Right, right.
And crucially, they don't shy away from humor. Their campaigns often poke fun at consumerism, which really resonates with the eco-fatalists' worldview.
So they're not trying to fight against that fatalism. They're kind of meeting it with understanding, humor, and practical solutions. That's actually really clever.
Okay.
So we've met our Gen Z crew. The well-off show-offs, the happy hipsters, the unwoke geeks, the eco-warriors, and those eco-fatalists over in Europe. 5 distinct groups, each with their own, like, quirks and complexities.
Right.
But now, let's see how they play the game, so to speak, in the online world. Because, let's be real, where Gen Z goes, the digital world tends to follow.
It's true. And, you know, it's tempting to just slap the label digital native on them and call it a day.
Yeah.
But their relationship with technology, it's so much more nuanced than that.
Right.
Take websites, for example.
Okay.
This research really highlights how important clarity and functionality are for Gen Z.
Makes sense.
Like, forget those flashy graphics or those websites where you can't figure out where to click.
Yeah.
They value a seamless, intuitive experience.
It makes sense. They've grown up with, like, instant access to information. Patience for a clunky website. I don't think so.
Exactly. They want information, and they want it quickly, easily, without any unnecessary fluff.
Right.
And that actually brings us to this really fascinating aspect of Gen Z's online habits, their platform preferences.
Okay, yeah.
TikTok, YouTube, Instagram.
It's a lot.
Each one actually serves a very distinct purpose in their digital ecosystem.
Okay, so break it down for me. What makes each platform unique for Gen Z? Because, and I'll admit, even I, a seasoned millennial, I get them confused sometimes.
It all comes down to the style of the content and how well it aligns with their needs. So TikTok, that's their space for short, engaging, trend-driven content. It's where they go for entertainment, humor, connecting with their tribe, that sort of thing.
So TikTok is like a quick hit of dopamine, a way to keep up with the latest viral dance or challenge.
Exactly. And for anyone trying to market to this generation, that means really understanding the platform's unique language. You can't just like recycle content from other platforms and expect it to work on TikTok. You've got to speak their language.
Authenticity is key, right?
No.
Or else they'll sniff you out in a heartbeat.
100%. Now, YouTube, on the other hand, that's where Gen Z goes for those deeper dives.
Okay.
We're talking tutorials, reviews, educational content, that kind of thing. They're willing to spend a bit more time on YouTube if it means actually gaining valuable knowledge or insights.
So if TikTok is the snack, then YouTube is the actual meal. I like that.
That's a great way to put it. And then, of course, we have Instagram, which is still the reigning champion of, like, curated visuals.
Oh, yeah.
It's where Gen Z goes to showcase their lives, connect with influencers, discover new products, that kind of thing.
So we've got TikTok for entertainment, YouTube for education, and Instagram for inspiration. And running through all of them, the power of visual content.
Absolutely. But, and there's always a but, those visuals have to be high quality, and crucially, they have to be relevant.
So what you're saying is no more slapping a random stock photo on a post. and hoping for the best.
Not if you want to capture Gen Z's attention. This is a generation that really appreciates aesthetics, artistry, even in their digital spaces.
It's interesting, though, this emphasis on visuals. It seems like a natural evolution, given how comfortable they are with technology.
It really does. And it actually ties into this larger trend we're seeing with Gen Z's online habits.
Okay, like what?
The rise of virtual influencers.
Yeah, the virtual influencers. It's wild.
These CGI-created personalities, they're amassing these huge followings, and it's something we haven't really seen to this extent with other generations.
It's true. And I have to admit, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole thing. What is it about these virtual influencers that resonates so much with Gen Z? Is it like the separation from reality? Or is there something more to it?
It's complex, but I think it speaks to just how comfortable Gen Z is with digital personas.
Okay.
This is a generation that's grown up with online identities that are often separate from who they are offline. Virtual influencers, in a way, are like the ultimate curated online persona.
So they're drawn to that sense of control, that ability to craft an image
Yeah.
that really aligns with their values or aspirations.
Exactly. And for brands, it's tempting, right?
Yeah.
Because virtual influencers offer this level of control and consistency that you just don't get with a human influencer.
Right, but there's always a but.
Of course. The big question is authenticity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Can a virtual influencer, something that doesn't actually exist in a physical sense, really connect with an audience as effectively as a human? And even if they can, is that connection something that actually transfers to the brands they're promoting?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It
Well,
seems like a gamble for brands.
It is, and it'll be really fascinating to see how this whole thing evolves as Gen Z gains even more purchasing power. But for now, I think it just highlights how complex and multifaceted their relationship with the digital world really is.
All right, Deep Dive crew, welcome back. We've met the well-off show-offs, spent some time with the happy hipsters, tried to crack the code of the unwoke geeks, felt the weight of the world with those eco-warriors, and explored that really intriguing world of the eco-fatalists, right?
Right.
We even navigated the always-changing landscape of Gen Z's online habits. Phew, I need a nap.
From sustainable brands to those virtual influencers, it's been quite a ride.
It has.
But now let's take all those puzzle pieces, right? The segments, the trends, those online behaviors, and see what kind of picture they paint when we put them all together. What does this all actually mean for anyone who's trying to understand this generation?
Yeah, exactly. This is the part where we go beyond just, like, labeling them and really start digging into, like, the why behind it all. So what's the big takeaway here? What themes keep popping up when you look at Gen Z as a whole?
Well, one thing that really jumps out from the research is this sense of intense pressure to succeed, and all of that happening alongside, some really significant economic uncertainty.
Which makes total sense.
Yeah.
This is a generation that has seen recessions, climate change anxieties, a job market that feels like one giant side hustle after another.
Exactly. They've grown up watching those traditional systems and structures really falter, And that's fostered a very specific relationship with money for this generation. They definitely see the need for financial stability for sure, but they're also really skeptical of those old school markers of success.
Like the big house and the fancy car.
Exactly. It's not necessarily what they're striving for anymore.
Yeah, they're looking for something more, something with meaning, which actually explains this whole focus on authenticity and social responsibility that we keep seeing, right?
Exactly. But even that plays out differently across the segments. Remember the well-off show-offs, for example.
Right.
They love those brands that are both sustainable and high status.
Right. While the eco-warriors are all about ethical practices and real transparency.
Exactly. They want to see genuine action, not just a slick marketing campaign. And even the unwoke geeks, who might seem, less concerned with social issues on the surface, they're still massively influenced by their online communities. Like, if an influencer they trust calls out a brand for questionable behavior, they're going to listen.
It's like this weird paradox. They crave individuality, but also want to belong to something bigger than themselves.
It's so true. And it's something that makes this generation so fascinating and, honestly, so powerful. They're out there challenging the status quo, demanding transparency, pushing for real, tangible change.
Sure.
They're not afraid to use their voices, both online and off, to advocate for what they believe in.
Even the eco-fatalists who might be struggling with like a sense of hopelessness about the future, they're still expressing their values through their choices.
It's
Choosing frugality, supporting those local businesses, aligning themselves with brands that reflect their worldview.
exactly. So, look, we can't predict the future, right? But I think one thing's for sure. Gen Z, this generation, they're going to leave their mark on the world.
They're the tastemakers, the trendsetters. They're holding up a mirror to society and saying, hey, we can do better here. And ignoring them, I don't think that's really an option anymore.
It's not if you want to stay relevant. Anyway,
Yeah.
understanding Gen Z, their values, motivations, fears, aspirations, it's essential for anyone who really wants to connect with them.
Right, and that's true whether you're a brand, an employer, or just a fellow human trying to navigate this crazy world alongside them.
Well said.
And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of Gen Z.
It's been fun.
It has. Big thanks to our expert for breaking it all down for us.
Anytime.
And to you, our listeners, for joining us on this journey. Remember, keep those questions coming, stay curious, and let's all keep those deep dives going.